It's Oklahoma Archery. Everything archery based out of Oklahoma for Oklahomans. Let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to another Oklahoma Archery podcast. I'm David Bosca.
I'm Nick O'Neill, and we got somebody here with us today that's got some big news to share. Welcome to Brook Storts out of G2 in Ardmore. How are you, Brook?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Are you still on cloud nine, or has it come back down to earth yet?
Still kind of on cloud nine, coming down slowly.
There you go.
But
very well. Tell everyone what is making you on cloud nine.
So this past weekend, or I guess last weekend, wow.
I know.
I went down to Foley, competed in the Open 45 class for girls. My first time judging at a pro-am, and I ended up winning. So that was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Beat up on them, kicked the door in, walked on the podium like he's meant to be there, cashed a bunch of big checks. I saw saw you had a big stick right there and had them all lined up all the way down the top. So
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That was fun. That was good. Tell everybody just how your rounds went at Foley and then kind of go into what you did to prepare first year judging.
Okay. So when we got there on Wednesday, I think we got there pretty early, about noon. Was judging pretty good and a little hot, but kind of just whatever. And then Thursday morning was judging really good at the practice range. Just had no nerves at all, zero. And then Thursday night, the nerves kind of hit pretty good. And I don't know what it was, but we were going through the practice range again, and I couldn't find good numbers. I was either too hot or too low. I was short. Then I was high. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Then coming back when we got done, I ran into actually Josh and Kyle and said, "Hey, do you mind if I judge with you guys? Because I'm not getting it." And they were nice enough to let me, hang back with them. And I judged some more, and it felt good after that. So, and then really no nerves going into Friday. I had a long walk to the range because we were on A and B. So it's a long time to think about stuff. Yeah. So I was sitting on my stool and kind of got to overthinking before we walked in. But I mean, I knew I just do what I had to do. If I do bad, then it's learning. And if I don't, great. We get in there and we get started, and I didn't think I did as well as I did. When we started off, I just was keeping it in the 10 ring and doing really well doing that, over judging some, but just kind of really just having fun. And it was a great experience. And then we end day one. I was 15 down into day one, and which for my first time, I didn't think that was a bad score. And everybody else was telling me that was a good score, and I turned in cards. So that was pretty cool. And then I didn't look that night. I didn't look to see where I had placed.
Okay, you didn't look because you didn't want to?
I didn't want to.
Okay.
I didn't want to because I knew that would mess with my head pretty good. If it was a good place, it would make me nervous. So I didn't want that to throw me off. So everyone was telling me congratulations when I got there that morning. I just kept saying, I don't know. And so then going into Saturday, I didn't have any nerves either. And sorry. And we get going, and I'm just having a blast. I think I was up either 6 up or 4 up after the first 6 or 8 targets. So felt I was judging really good that day and still keeping it in the 10 ring. And it was awesome. I was rolling and having a great time. And about halfway through, before we turned the corner for our last 5, we come up to the turkey, and I underjudged a turkey, and I shot a 5 about 3 inches low. So that kind of hit my confidence a little bit. And in my head, I was like, whatever podium chance I had or whatever lead I had was gone. But I just kept telling myself, don't let it ruin a good weekend, because it already was a great weekend no matter how I did. But so then the next one, I overcompensated and overjudged the hyena and shot high. So I was really rattled after that. But then I hit 2 more 12s, and on the last target, it was a mule deer. And the day before, I had overjudged a mule deer and shot high for an 8. So what was in my head was don't miss the target or don't overjudge it. So, but I said, whatever happens, happens. So I called upper because I had been catching them a lot that day, judging a little too high. So I called upper, and then when I drew back, I felt good about it, and my shot went off, and it fell into the lower. And then I was really upset that I had underjudged the mule deer. But when I turned around, my whole group was standing behind me. He said, I think you just won because you were sitting first going into today. So that was really cool.
Oh, so they respected you, never told you all day.
They never told me.
Okay.
Yeah, they kept it to themselves too. But that was the first thing they said after I turned around and my arrow hit. So that was really cool.
That was fun. Who was in your group?
So her name, well, we had 5 the first day, 4 the second day. I can't remember all of their names now that you asked me. One of them's name was Kayla. And
that's
then
why they're not first place, is we ain't got to remember their names.
Podium. I actually got beat in my group. There was a girl who I finished 5 up that day, and I got beat in my group. A girl shot 10 up, and her name was Kayla, and she was really cool. She's really nice. And then
So it sounds like everybody had a rough first day.
Yes, it was a rougher first day, and I ended up winning by 10 points. I finished 10 down for the weekend, and the next one to me that finished second was 20 down, I think. So I could have missed the last target and still would have won on 12.
That's pretty cool.
Crazy.
Congratulations.
So they waited for the arrow to land in the target to tell you, but it didn't need to win. They didn't even need to hit the target, and you would have won.
Didn't even need to hit the target. I could have missed it and still won, which is wild to think about.
I didn't hear that detail.
Yeah.
I'd heard they asked who you practiced with, and I don't know if you want to tell that story or not, but
not before?
About practicing with all the guys and this and that.
Oh, yes. So yeah, not practicing with Josh and Kyle because I was kind of panicking a little bit. And they said, hey, if something happens and you mess up, it's part of learning. But they said, I think you'll do fine. And they gave me some tips on like what I was struggling with and that like helped them, which was very helpful because I remember that going to the next day. And Ryan was there and I said, I think my nerves hit. And he was like, well, you're screwed. Like, you just need to panic. Like, it's over. So anytime I got nervous, that's what I would think about. And so I would start laughing. So that was kind of nice.
There you go. His comment worked.
It did. It did. And that was, if I hadn't had people like that talking to me and telling me like, hey, it's okay, I probably would have been a little bit more nervous. So I'm super grateful. I got to practice with them the night before and work that out and do good. So
yes, you won first tournament.
Yeah.
That also means you're leading in shooter of the year.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. I really had no expectations going into this weekend because I didn't believe them when they told me like you're sitting first. I said, there's no way. No way. Because I didn't think I did that well.
Okay. As a shooter, that's because in your mind, you know what you left on the table.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're like, no, there's other girls right out here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the first day I think I hit 4 or 5 8s and a 5. So I missed quite a bit and didn't judge very well the first day, I thought. So I said, there's no way I was sitting first.
But the thing is that you know where your gaps were.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're going to work on between now and the next one. Absolutely. And that just goes to show only you're the winner. That's why I tell our granddaughters, they show cattle. And I'm like, you won first. Only you know how hard you had to work to get there. Everybody else is trying to figure out what they've got to do to get to that point. You're already there. Now what you work on is going to be the cream of the butter.
Yes.
So
4 more I'm going to make.
That's right. Continue doing what you're doing because you know where you need to be. Now climb from there and you'll be ahead of the next crowd again.
Yes, I'm very excited.
So tell everybody about What was your last time we had you on? We couldn't talk about what your setup you were running was.
Oh yes,
It wasn't released yet. So
Yeah.
tell everybody the winning recipe for what equipment they might take to a local pro-am.
Well, what works for me and has been working very well is the Dart and Sequel 35. And I got about a 26-inch draw. I think I'm at about 68 pounds right now. I had to. I know I get a lot of that when I tell people how much I pull, but my draw length hurts speed wise. So this year it felt good to kind of turn it up a little bit. And I had to jump up arrows. I was shooting 400s at the beginning of the year, and turns out those are not the correct spine. So now I'm shooting 350s, Black Eagle PS23s, 350s. I do have 25s I'm going to work on and see how that does. So I've got them fletched up and ready to go. But for Foley, I ran the 23s. I have Conquest bars. I have a 27 on the front and a 12 on the back. I'm 1-to-1 on weights. I have 12 weights on the front, 12 weights on the back. And then I also have a 6 stack screwed into the bottom because the 35 is a lot lighter than my Exodus. So I need a kind of more mass weight. Then I use an Excel Achieve XP with a Shrewd scope. I run a down pin with a blue fiber and a 4-power lens. And I also have a True Ball Goat hinge. I shoot as a hinge, still with no click. So
Cool.
that's what worked for me, and I love what I'm running right now.
Is that pretty similar to what you finished out the year with indoor, or did you start shooting it later in the year?
I didn't do much indoor this year. I don't think I did any. I went to Okies some and did the jackpots or whatever. But when my sequel came in, I set that up as quickly as I can and started running what I was going to run for 3D, and even shot indoor with it. So I didn't do a whole lot of indoor this year.
Shooting indoor with 68 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And she was whooping up on the guys at most of the jackpots. I think I mean, there's not enough women in archery. And I mean, Brook showed them all that you can get in there and rub elbows with the big boys, and they'll be looking up at you on the podium. So it's not just 3D that she's good at. She can shoot a little bit of indoor too.
It's archery she's good at. That's right.
I tell people you make your biscuits in the wintertime, figuring out your shot process for indoor. Massively beneficial to shoot under pressure, even if it's 20 yards, it's easy to judge. You know the number. It's 20 over and over again.
Yeah, it don't change.
I told Ryan I was heading out to practice judging. He goes, "Are you really?" Because we went after the Ardmore ASA qualifier. We went and judged about 15. He goes, "Man, you got that Rain Man autism thing going on with the numbers." I was like, "Thanks. I appreciate that." Talking about strategy on uppers and lowers. And he said, "Shoot the lower with the biggest number you can, and don't worry about rising and falling. And you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Put the biggest number you can, aim right at the lower. And if it rises, it's going to be a 10. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "I'm going to practice judging." He goes, "Really?" I said, "No, I'm going to shoot indoor. Leave me alone."
And that's the big thing that they had to tell me was get the 12s out of your head and run big numbers low.
Yeah. Keep
it in the 10 ring. And I feel like I did a pretty good job. I missed a few here and there, but for the most part, for just starting out, really, I feel like I'm doing a good job of it, but I still have some work to do.
Well, Ryan's told me that the name of the game is to shoot 10s. You won by 10 points, and you were at a 390 out of 400. If you'd have shot all 10s, you'd have been at 400, and you'd have beat number 2 by 20 points.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is to keep it in a 4 or 5 inch circle at 45 yards when you don't know it's 45 yards.
Yes.
Yeah, that is. I mean, so what is your bow close to max speed?
I'm not exactly sure on that. Oh, yes. Yes, for my class. Sorry. Yes, for my class, I'm
288.
I'm running about 285, and 288 is the max. So I'm really close. I thought you meant max speed out of the whole bow. Sorry.
No. Yep, you're good. You're good. I was curious because most of the yardage judging people like to run it wickedly fast, and over like 280 is the number, but you get plus or minus 3%, so that's 288 feet per second. Most of them are up above 84, somewhere between 84 and 87. You don't ever want to pop too hot.
No. no.
That's why they put a chronograph out there. So you get there, shoot you one through the chrono. All right, we're good.
Yeah. So I've picked up like listening to arrows kind of.
Mhm.
I can't listen to it and tell you exactly, but I can say like, oh, that's kind of a 30s. That sounds like a 40 or whatever. And everybody else in my group was 10 feet slower. So if I heard it and the gap was like really far, does that make sense? Like that's how they taught me, like that would mess me up because for what their speed is 10 feet slower is going to be way different than what mine is.
You'll think that it's a longer target.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That actually messed me up on the turkey. I was hearing it really far. And it just, I listened to that instead of working the ground, and that cost me.
Yep. So walk us through ground judging. I mean, when you look at a target out there, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
A lot of times I'll walk up to the target and I'll get like an initial one. Like, okay, I think it's this. Now let's work the ground and see if that's right. A lot of times my initial judge is way off. But I stand there and you find your 10 yards right in front of you. A lot of times, if like I'm staring at the target and I just kind of look down, like right under my nose, that's kind of where my 10 is. And then you double that and you find your 20. And for my class 45, it's either going to be the 20 is either going to be just a shade closer to me or kind of really close to the target. So your 20 really tells you a lot. Now, this weekend I was seeing it a little, I guess, how would I put it? I wasn't seeing it very well because I was judging really hot, but I still kept it in the 10 ring and didn't add too much or whatever. I think I'm rambling. So.
No, you're not rambling. No, not at all.
There is a fascination happening in Oklahoma with the open style. That's not open meaning long bars and lenses. That's open meaning unknown judgers. So for everybody out there that thinks it's, guessing or estimating distance, no, there is a process that these people run. It's looking at them, listening to them.
Yes.
What's the easiest target to judge for you, and what is the hardest target? Not necessarily which animal, but like when you're looking at is one in the field, just no trees, nothing, flat ground. Is that easy to see, or is that harder for you to see?
I kind of like tight lanes. This weekend in Foley, there was a lot of tight lane stuff. Okay. So I struggle more in open for some reason, and I'm still learning. So it's kind of weird for people asking me like how I do it. Mm-hmm. The hardest one for me to judge is probably the turkey, because it's big like width-wise, but like height, it just throws me off. It did Foley. I thought he was 42 yards, but he was actually like 44, 45, I think. Mm-hmm. That one, I can judge it good sometimes, but most of the time I can't. The little bitty ones, I don't struggle with those really. Like the javelina, the wolverine, the lynx, I sometimes struggle with, and the big ones like the deer, like the mule deer. Mm-hmm. I always overjudge a mule deer. I pick that up. I overjudge it by I think 3 or 4 yards every time. So that's a trend I've learned from like taking notes and stuff. That's one thing Ryan tells me is to like keep a logbook, and that helped me a lot too, because I can see, lately I've been overjudging the lynx by 4 yards. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, I need to walk that back and look at it again and see where I went wrong. But
I remember years ago when when I judged, that was back when I shot 3D. 45 was the max then also. Mm-hmm. And like you was talking about the halfway point, that was measured for me. The 20 yard was my biggest thing. And I can always remember once I find my 20, I try to find a 30 and go, okay. But after that, my next method was, I remember I'd go to the target and I go, now what's halfway? Tell me my halfway point. Is it that tree? Is it that Johnson grass? Whatever it is. And then I'd go, that's 3 yards beyond my 20. Or I'd go, well, that's within my 20.
Mhm.
That's how I kind of got to figuring out, oh, wait a minute, is that 38 or is that 41?
Mhm.
That was how I used to do it, is I would play that halfway game after I was dead sure on my 20, then I'd go and then just come back. Is that something you play with too?
Not. I've no, not really, but I do understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The halfway point and stuff. Because
if it's within the 40 or out of 40, man, if you're real positive on that 20, man, I used to go, that's my halfway. Now, how far is it beyond that?
yeah,
Then I'd come back, and that's how I would do it. I'd then now come back and go, wow, I've got a different 20 now. And it'd make you think. Yeah.
yeah. I can see pretty well, like when in known last year, a lot of times before I even ranged it, if I could see the rings really clearly, I knew it was like under 30 yards or whatever.
Oh, okay.
This
Yeah.
year, starting judging, it kind of messed me up. One of the first tournaments, I just looked at it, I didn't work the ground, and I was like, oh, that's 28 yards. Well, I shot it. Yeah, I did. I shot it, and it was like, I think it was like 35 or 36 yards. So I have to really pay attention and not get ahead of myself, because luckily for me, my eyes are really good and I can see rings. So, but I don't use that as like, oh, that's 41 yards just based off the rings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I could never do that either. There was guys back in, they say that they would look at the eye.
Mhm.
What?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I was never good at, yeah, whatever.
I'm not that good.
Yeah, and me either. No.
I use that more for like my initial judge. Like when I'm first walking up to it, I can see like how big the target is as a whole, kind of. Because like when it's really close, the target looks really big in your face. When it's far away, it looks little bitty. So yeah, just things like that. I'm still learning. So.
Oh, dude, I don't think anybody ever quits learning about it. Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun though.
The ones that don't go good, do you have a short-term memory about it and like move on, that one's over? Or is it like, I thought that coyote was 24 and it was 33. Do you remember that? Like because you have to remember it for like the future times you're going to judge it. But at full draw, I'm the best ever. There's no way this is going anywhere but dead center, exactly where my pin is. And it's like half of it's confidence and half of it's having a short-term memory. So I know you said you keep a logbook. Where do you put those past ones where it's like, whoops? Where's the whoops go in the book of what to not do?
So after I mess up on one, I go back to the stake and I look at it, and then I can see, most of the time I can see where I messed up, and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, a lot of times it's just forget it and move on. Like you learn from it, and you got another one coming up in 3 or 4 minutes. So you got to forget it really quickly. But also you do have to remember it to remember what you did wrong for the next time.
Yeah, it has to register somehow. Yeah.
Yes. Like the mule deer on day 1, I overjudged it a lot. So when I was looking at it on day 2, I said, okay, he looks about the same as he did yesterday. So, but I think he's a little closer. So let's maybe cut some and keep us in the 10. That's all I was thinking, was just keep us in the 10 ring. That's it. But turns out I didn't even have to. I could have missed. But that's in my head. I remembered it from yesterday or the day before.
So what is your favorite target?
My favorite one? I really like the lynx. The lynx has kind of been my favorite. I always judge that one pretty good. But I also like the ram. I've judged the ram very well so far. And the wolverine. I really like the wolverine. I've judged the wolverine very well on more of the bigger ones, like the deer.
If you say one more, I'm just going to say you just like shooting, because you know 25% of the course.
I do like shooting. It's a lot of fun, and I guess I haven't developed like hatred for one target yet. I mean, kind of the turkey, but that's
where my next question was going to be. But I couldn't get you to the end of your likes. So we're going to say that there's not a hatred.
Not yet. Well, okay, there is one, the hyena. I overjudge that one every single time. Even when I think I cut some, I still overjudge it. And I think I've shot more 8s on it than any other one.
Well, you're going to have to talk to Ryan about that, your psychiatrist.
Yeah.
your archery psychiatrist.
Yeah. And I don't know what about it. Because it's not a very big one, but it's not a very small one. We'll just have to keep working on that. So
That's the medium-sized in-between ones.
yeah.
You can usually figure the small ones are going to, like the javelina, the coyote, the wolverine, they're going to be farther because they're lighter.
Yes.
But every once in a while, they put it at 39 instead of max. It's going to throw a lot of people off because that's just an assumption. It's like, yeah, it looks pretty far out there. That's probably pretty close to max. And Ryan's like, ooh. 40.
That happened to me on the coyote. I was looking at it and I said, I think he's over 40, but I don't think he's quite max. So what I do a lot of times on aiming, if I think I have too much on it, I'll aim like just below the lower, but it's like sometimes under the 8 ring. So I set my sight to 45 on the coyote and said, okay, if he's 44, I'll hit to 12. But if he's 2 or 3, I'll hit the top of the 10 ring. But I know my threshold, so I won't. So I said, if he's not max, I won't climb out of the 10 ring. And I knew he was over 40. So that's what I do a lot of times. And this weekend it worked and it kept me in the 10 ring. So I'm going to roll with that for a while.
Yep. So coming off a win and a double-digit point win, what do you think about changing? I know you think you said you were going to try out some 25s. Does that mean you're going to, I hate to see you tune the bow for them and then not like them. Like, what do you go to as far as improvement, but like still building on what you've done?
I am going to try out the 25s because they're actually within 2 grains of my 23s. They're only 2 grains heavier. So if those fly good, the only thing is like if it's a windy day, it's going to catch a lot of wind. So I don't know. I'll just have to try them like here locally and see. But I don't know. They might just only be for like a dead still, like calm day. But yeah, just playing with things and also still working on judging. I still have a lot to learn. I'm having a great time doing it. It's way more fun than doing known. And also just to keep doing like what I'm doing. My practice routine has worked pretty well. There's still a lot of things I can improve on, but just more time on targets and more judging practice. That's the one thing they tell me a lot is don't worry so much about your shot because your shot's already good. Just focus like on your judging for now. Because you don't want to get too wrapped up in your shot process and your judging falls away.
What does Brook do between Monday and Saturday at the shoot? Practicing.
So a lot of times it's still getting kind of dark. So I just go in the shop and shoot like 20 yards. I can still focus on my shot execution and just keeping my hand moving and rolling through my hinge pretty well. I'm getting to the point where I can just take my thumb off and my brain just takes over. And I have a kill zone that I judge the little bitty black like kill zones. So I kind of put it in random spots and after each shot and just judge it. So, and then on the weekends, hopefully we have an ASA to go to, but
that's up to him.
Yeah.
I did my part. I packed that schedule fuller in a van headed to spring break. All right. It's all there and then some.
Very grateful for that.
I just knew it's going to take me that many to get 6 good scores. Okay. It's for me. It's not for everyone else.
Right. Me too.
Are you one of the judging archers that will go to the practice range with a rangefinder and not your bow? Or do you take your bow with you when you go judge targets no matter what?
I always take my bow.
That's why she's the best. Okay. Talking to Josh and Kyle and Austin and everybody else that says, I'm going to go judge targets and then their bow's in the truck. Like, I'm going to go practice and my bow's not with me. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Why would you not shoot it? You walked all the way out there. Somebody put that target at 42 yards. You might as well fling an arrow at it or in the vicinity of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see why they would, because like I was really frustrated Thursday night and I just wanted to look at some and I was like, I'll just judge if I can hang back with y'all and just judge. But they were nice enough to let me shoot. But I have not shot targets and I've just looked at them because I don't want to make a bad shot or something because I'm frustrated because I've got the number wrong the shot before or whatever. So I do see why that's beneficial though.
Take out, like, you have ultimate confidence in your shot process, and now it's just cleaning up the judging, and you don't want to risk having a few bad shots make you question what you're getting ready to go do the next day. Yes. So it's preservation of the shot process. We're locked in. I know how to make the bow go off. I know how to aim it. I know the bow will hit. Now it's just getting my eye and my rangefinder to match up.
I'm more focusing on my numbers and like what I see, and I'll take my rangefinder like when we got there Wednesday. Because it's getting acclimated is what they call it. I'll take my rangefinder and like range my 20. So I'm like, okay, in this terrain, that's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for the first couple shots. Then I put it away and started judging myself. And if I missed one, I would range it and then look at it again. Okay, my 20 was about 3 yards short or 3 yards long. And then I would go, I think I went through the practice range. I went through the practice range quite a bit. So I knew, and by day 2 or 3, I knew most of them, but some of them I still didn't, but I got a lot better. So that's just kind of how I acclimated and got ready.
You're driving home. You have already had the high of the highs.
Yeah.
Are you passengering or are you driving it?
My dad drove most of the way.
Okay. So you're sitting over in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
You're chilling out now.
Yeah.
The phone has an hour and a half into the drive. The phone has finally quit buzzing. You're chilling out. You got a Coca-Cola sitting beside you or whatever your favorite, Mountain Dew, whatever. And you start looking back. Tell us what Brooks thinks immediately as far as, I've got to go home and do this before the next tournament.
Yes, I definitely was judging a little too hot. So I'm like, I've got to figure out how to not want to put such big of a number. Because I had a lot that were just at the top of the 10 ring and even missed some 8 high. So I was just thinking, like, how do I figure out a way to be more confident with a smaller number? Okay. Not necessarily like an aggressive number and go for the 12s every time, but just kind of shrink my judging window.
Mm-hmm. And so
really
when you went to your coach, how did he help you with the, well, I don't want you to say his methods. Okay. That's between you and him, but it's been 10 days.
Yeah.
So what have you done? Cause the other one's coming. We're I'm trying to scold you into getting busy. So what are you doing now to feel comfortable with a smaller number?
So like this weekend, I was trying that. I shot yesterday in the wind. It didn't go very well, and I also didn't really judge very good yesterday. So I don't think that's a good example. But I haven't got to be on targets in the last week because of work and it's getting dark here in the afternoons. But so yesterday I was just trying to see like, okay, my 20, like maybe I need to walk my 20 back a little bit I had that backwards. Walk it forward because I was seeing it close to me, and that's how I'm getting all those high numbers. So I was like, maybe I need to push it a little bit and see if that works. And on my numbers yesterday, they were a lot better. Just the wind didn't help.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of trying knowing okay, you're saying that you're getting bigger numbers and you're going out the top.
Mhm.
What is your gap difference? And learning your gap difference in a 35-yard shot, and you have it dead on, and I'm holding at the 12, lower 12, this is it. Okay, let's say you add 3.5 yards to it.
Mhm.
Up, down. What is your gap drop between 38 and 33?
Okay.
And the reason I'm
drops,
asking it this way,
I actually haven't tested the drops. I know the rises pretty well. When I get past like 35, it's about 2.5 to 3 yards. So if I think
to
it's
go
hard,
out,
yes, to climb out of the top of the 10 ring. At 20 yards, it's like 33, 34. But then as I get to the higher yardages, like past 40, it's like 2.5.
okay.
If that makes sense.
So you're saying 38 to 45, anywhere from 3.5 to 2.5, you could blow out the top.
Yes.
I think this is an easy fix for you. Feel confident in your halfway points, and you know you're not going to go any higher. You know, for me shooting, that would make me go just a touch as it went off, not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Just that, which will make it pop up. And it's a confidence in, well, I know for a fact if I'm 3 yards too much, I'm still not going out.
Yes.
Be confident in it. Shoot your shot.
Yes. I've had to learn to not second guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a confidence in knowing your gaps.
Yes. Gaps very help. I haven't tested the falls because I know like Kyle and Ryan, they like aim at the upper and like cut and then let it fall.
Yeah.
So, and they've told me I need to experiment with that, like different aiming points and stuff like that. I just haven't done that yet. So that may work. I know some people aim center and let it fall or rise. So it's just, I'm going to have to get out there and play with different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it probably has a lot to do with the way that you put your pin on the target. Do you put it directly on it every time? Do you want to see just above it? Or you one of them that wants, you know what I'm saying? All that probably plays into how people do that.
If I feel I have too much on it, I'll aim just below the lower. If I'm really confident in like, okay, I know what it is, what I have on it, so I'm going to climb out of the 10 ring, I'll hold directly on it. So, and then it's just, I mean, I've had to accept the fact, like, Thursday night, Kyle told me, you got to be okay with being wrong. So for me, I kind of have a piece, like, for me, like, when I'm aiming, this is just going to land where it lands. So if I mess up, just take it and go to the next one.
Those guys are judging so more, not meticulous, but so more into the actual than what we used to do at ours years ago. I mean, we maxed at 45. So the majority was 40 to 43. These guys are maxing at 50. That's a huge difference.
Yes.
So definitely, if they got some tricks to the trade, they're the ones to be listening to.
Absolutely. So I shoot semi-pro back home, if anyone who doesn't know that. So that's the 50-yard class. And I get to shoot with them quite a bit. And that, to me, has been the biggest help because I get to learn from them and be around them and see what they do and ask them questions and all that stuff. So that's been awesome, and they've been willing to help. So I'm very lucky, and they're always there, like, to give good advice. And if I have a bad day, like, hey, keep going, you're doing fine. So I'm pretty lucky.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah.
So when you jump to the 50-yard class, are you going to change your bow setup at all? Are you going to crank it down all the way to 70, 71 to try to get that extra 10 foot per second? Or is it working right now? Don't need to mess with anything. Just shoot it like you've been shooting it at home.
Right now, I don't want to change anything. I know, when I do go to the 50-yard class, it's 290, I think. They just changed it. So I'll have to figure out how I can get that. I have a 120 point weight right now. So I can only cut 10 grains off. I don't know how that's going to work. So I might have to bump up the poundage. I'll just have to test it and see.
Yeah.
Because there's not much, like, I'm not going to grow anymore. 26 and a half inch draw. My arrows, I just cut the 25s are like 24 and a half carbon to carbon.
Oh gosh. I say the saw only goes to 24.
Yeah.
Short as the saw will get before it falls off the rail.
They're little bitty. And I run my rest back too. So
yeah. Well, if you have more poundage, you'll need it stiffer, and shorter
yes.
is stiffer. So hopefully not have to bump up to a different spine, keep the grains per inch is the same. And best thing about the Black Eagle is the 25s and 23s are, I mean, almost identical. 25s yes. might be a little bit lighter.
They are.
Thinner wall. Yeah. So
I was very
excited. We couldn't even talk about the 25s yet because they weren't here, but they're here. Everybody's shooting them. I ran with the 23s just because my bow is loving it, and the way I shoot, I was never within a 64th of that would have made a difference. So I could have shot skinny arrows and shot the same score.
That was one thing I was mad about because it did cost me some points. If I'd had 25s, I would have got like a couple more 12s and even a few more 10s, and I was really mad. My dad was like, "You just won. Like, you did everything you were supposed to do."
That's that drive home we was talking about.
Yes. Yes.
He goes from dad to Coach Brad all of a sudden, and it's right back in the softball days. And well, yeah, we just need to clean it up.
Yeah.
Brad's the best dude. I've felt like the first time I ever met Brad is he treated me like one of his own kids. He's just like, "Hey man, how are you?" Because we were the Hoyt people. We were the only ones. It was just us three and Colby Crooks way out west in Oklahoma. And well, look at how the dominoes are falling. But
he's pretty awesome. I was glad he was there to see my first win, and that ended up being my first win because there's I think one where he's not going to get to go to. So him being there was really cool.
Okay, now this is just us. We're going to hit pause and everything. Did your dad cry after you won? Come on, it's just us.
I don't know because when we walked out of the range, they were all kind of waiting in the village, and he gave me a hug. I don't think he did, but because he doesn't cry, he really doesn't. I've seen it once. But I do know he was very proud, though.
Absolutely.
Because seeing my brother and I succeed is like where he gets his happiness. So I do know he's very happy.
Yeah.
If he was close to crying, that would be it.
It'd been that happy cry. Yeah. Okay.
I
unpaused. Keep talking.
I saw a little 7 or 8 year old Jordy get up on the podium for his photos, and I wept like a baby. I had my sunglasses on, my big orange ones behind here, hiding in plain sight, and just knowing the work that goes into, and you got to be lucky, you got to be sticky, you got to have a good day, but it's the work you put in that leads to you standing there. And this is not one of my kids. I've never coached him. I've shot with him before. He's 7 years old and he's beat me plenty of times, but just seeing it up there makes all of it so much more worth it. And it's something that, I'm also proud of all our Okies. So we had, I mean, not just the ones that shoot the Dartons, but there was a lot of them out there.
There was. Everybody was great. That was awesome.
We didn't find out that Brad Yules had won Open 40 until the next, because they came down dead of night, got out, shot their first round Saturday, and he was the exact opposite of you. He knew that he shot 8 up and he needed 13 was the number. So he needed 8 and 5. He needed 6 to win. He got his 3 12s and started shooting center 10s and played it safe because he knew where the goal line was.
Yeah.
So totally different strategy going in to know I can't be nervous if I don't know. I'm just going to shoot my bow. And
exactly. And that was kind of cool. Like everybody else knowing but me. And I was in shock. Like, I did not believe it when they told me. And Austin McDowell was the first person I saw that I knew coming off the stake. And I said, I think I just won. And then Kyle was also on the same range. And he walks over, like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. And I said, they're telling me I just won. But I don't think I did. It doesn't feel like I did. and then it didn't hit. I had to put my hands on my knees. I couldn't breathe
Oh,
because I went from being so upset that I underjudged a mule deer to finding out I just won my first pro-am in the open class. Like, that was crazy. And I looked up and I was like, I did it. And he goes, yeah, you did it. And then walking out, the whole walkout, because, Neil, on range A, it's all the way at the end.
All the way back.
We had a long walk. We had a long walk back. And I called my dad. We called Ryan and Scott. Getting to call my dad and tell him that was really cool. Yeah. And him being there, that was awesome. And then, of course, Ryan and Scott were happy, and all the hugs and everything. That was probably my favorite part. Like, all the hugs and high fives from everybody telling me I did a good job. And that's the part I'll never forget. And that meant a lot to me, that seeing all those people like so happy for me, especially the ones like I look up to and I'm always looking to for advice, knowing like they're happy for me that I did it was incredible. And
knowing that piece of the pie that they gave you helped do that. Absolutely.
If it wasn't for all their advice and things that they tell me, and like, to even on bad days, I wouldn't have been able to get through that weekend. Like, the practice range Thursday night really helped a lot. And I'm very grateful for them to do that, because I mean, they didn't have to. Like, all three of them. Ryan eventually showed up after and also talked to me as well. So that I'm very grateful for all the help.
Pass it on to the next little girl that says, "Can I judge with you on Thursday?" Pass it on. That's what it's about.
For sure. Yes.
All the guys she's beat up on over the last 6 months to a year.
Even if it is one of the guys you beat up on, comes up on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
To judge with Brook now.
Treated him like absolute cannon fodder. Just a staircase of bodies to get up on that podium.
No.
100%. You're like, it's so strange when you're the last person to realize that it happened. It's real. You did it. You can do it. Everybody knew you could do it. And then you're looking back on it like, well, every one of them told me. Like, if no one out there has ever talked to Ryan Thomason, just as a coach, as an individual, as a friend, he has a way of pumping you up so much that you are ready to run through a brick wall head first, and you don't believe that you're going to feel a thing when you go through it. Like, you're not going to bounce off. You're going to stand on the other side of it. And I've seen him do that with so many different people that it's almost contagious. It is. I mean, what y'all are building down there at G2 and everything that Scott Hamlin's doing in Oklahoma. Like, I don't know how he's not officially an Oklahoma resident at this point.
I know, right?
No, we're going to have to get him up here. He's a north of the Red River person as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
We're not going to let Texas claim him. But yeah, it was such a great weekend, but that was by far the best part of it. I mean, we tried to get Kyle on here again. We'll see if we can get Kyle to come, because big shout out to Kyle getting third in semi-pro as well. He's been just right there knocking on the door of winning out. And it's happening for so many people across Oklahoma, and all they want to do is for you to come be a part of it. You can judge. I mean, look, they were all laughing when I was walking the course with Ryan at the G2 qualifier, just looking at targets. And they're like, he's about to get Neil. He's about to get him. He's gonna leave that rangefinder in his truck. No chance. No chance. Get away.
Fun.
They told me about you people in middle school. It was the DARE program. I don't want no part of them drugs. I like my rangefinder just well. I like knowing when I miss it was me and not the yardage. He goes, well, why don't you just not miss? How about simple as that?
Yeah, don't miss. That's an easy way to do it. It's so fun. Once you try it, like, you don't want to go back.
Well, you get a good enough arrow sponsorship. Yeah, it can be a little less painful when there's always another dozen arrows waiting on you. Yeah, I hate making them. And they're such great arrows. I hate running them into trees and rocks and stumps in the ground. in the ground. So yeah, once you're over that, oh no, what if I miss? Like you can't live your life scared that what if it doesn't go right? Okay, well maybe it never will. If you just sit there and don't do anything, you're never going to find out. So, to be that person that steps outside your comfort zone and tries something new, and just maybe you beat all the guys at home. Maybe you go beat them all at the pro-am too. I don't know.
Yeah.
How big is the women's open 45 versus the women's pro? Because there's a pretty steep step up in competition between the 45 and 50, but are they similar size classes?
Oh, I think this weekend we had 22, 23 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all fit on like 5 stakes or something like that.
Okay.
And then I think in the pro class, I'm not sure I don't think there's 20. When I looked for last year's, I don't think there was. It was like 16, 17, something like that. So it's not too big of a class, but
well, there'll be at least one more next year.
I don't know about that.
Oh yeah. You cash a check and sniff the money the second time. For everybody at home, the rule for winning out of your class is 200% of the entry fee. So if it's a $60 entry fee and you win $1,200, you're automatically bumped up to the next division. So you win a couple, you place it a couple, it's pretty automatic that you're hit the road, Jack, don't come back.
Do you have to move up that year, Neil, or will it be the next calendar? It'll
be the next calendar year.
Okay.
So, and there's some language in there that's like if you win 1 or podium at 2 or something like I don't remember how. I've never had to worry about it, Dave.
Okay.
They're just going to keep taking my money.
Just your interpretation when someone comes to you is, hold on a second, let me look it up.
Yep.
Which is wild to think about. I never, like Heath Franz made fun of me. I kept saying like, oh, I never would have thought. Like, I never would have thought I won this one. And now like having to pay attention to the win out rule I never would have dreamed.
Well, we had to write rules to protect these poor girls from people like you, Brooke. Just absolutely stop. I mean, you didn't even have to shoot the last target. You could have shot it in the head for style points and said, "Hey, can I give that to a kid? How's that next year? All right, I'll do it then."
And I still have moments where like I didn't do that, but I did, and I'm still blown away by it. Like I won Foley. Sounds weird.
We can tell. There's a smile across the screen, Brooke, that just says it all, and that's what makes it great.
When we were walking to the car, because when we called Ryan, he was like, "All right, walk to my truck or whatever." And we get there, and I'm walking up, and Josh Jacobson says, "I can see your grin from a mile away."
That sounds like Josh.
That is.
Well,
we've been on here about an hour. Why don't you go through and tell everybody all your sponsors?
So I'm sponsored by Darton, Black Eagle, Conquest Bars, Excel, True Ball, and Shrewd. Did I say Black Eagle?
G2.
Oh. G2 Outdoor Shooting Academy. Thank you. Ryan's going to kill me for that one.
He can't. You're the talent.
I know.
So.
All right, and a big shout out to really like Ryan at G2 and Kyle as well. Like they've helped me out so much, like wanting to learn this. I figured like when I decided to jump, like I'd kind of just be on my own and figuring it out. But no, they've helped me a ton, and I wouldn't be where I am without them. I wouldn't have known how to do this without all the advice they've given me. Josh as well, like he's given me tips to like when I was struggling and he showed me how he worked through it. So I've gotten a lot of advice from them, and I'm super grateful. Like, because like I said earlier, they didn't have to.
Yeah,
they did. So I'm super grateful to be able to learn from them, which is awesome. And they're great people. So
cool. Are you on social or keep that separate right now?
I am. I'm on Facebook, just Brooklyn Storts, and then Instagram as well there too. I'm not really good at Instagram. I mostly post my stuff on Facebook, but yeah, that's
this is something I want to ask real quick.
Mm-hmm.
you got back to school. Does anybody in school even know what you just did?
Oh,
What
I'm
your
not.
accomplishment was?
Well, I'm not in school. When I went back to work, like people
Okay.
like around here like kind of know what I do, but when I say like I won Foley, they don't understand like what that means.
Yeah.
Like how big of a deal it is. They're excited and they're super happy for me, but they just kind of it's not the same reaction I got coming off the stake and out of the range. Like they just so yeah, everyone's proud of me, but yeah, they kind of don't get like what I do.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's archery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really qualified to give you much advice on shooting, but here's what I will tell you. Start describing Foley as the first time I won Foley. Because every time you go back, it's going to be, the second time I won Minden or the third time I won the Classic. Because it's like, now it's special. Now we're going back to Foley where it happened. Now we're going to try to do it again. And now it's the obsession. It's the, I won last weekend. Yeah, I beat them all. Okay, what are we going to do now? Well, I got to do it again. Like,
I got to
beat me now. It's like, oh no. So it's the first time you won Foley.
Yes.
Like I said, you are the only one that knows how hard you work to get there. Everyone else is trying to get to that threshold. All you got to do is stay there and add to.
Yes, I'm very excited for the rest of the year. The pressure's kind of off the rest of the year. Like I'm not chasing something. I still want to win. Like I said earlier, I still have a lot of work to do, and I want to keep winning. So I got 3 more. I'll be in Minden, London, and then the Classic. So I'm very excited. And then also everything we do around here. I love judging 50 yards at home. So
there you go.
I'm just excited to get in the woods and shoot my bow. So
even if it is 68 pounds.
Where's the next local ASA we can find you at?
I think is it in 3 weeks?
Local?
I'm not going to Bartlesville this weekend.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. That's what you were trying to say.
Where can you see Brook in action at the next Oklahoma ASA?
Is it the Gun Club that's first?
Probably. It's Gun Club, and then I think Trosper combined with Connor State, and then Gun Club, and then I had it written down to my calendar because my schedule. I believe it's Trosper. Yeah, Trosper on the 16th or 15th and 16th. I'll be there, and then I think the Gun Club's next weekend or the next weekend after that. Yep, 22nd and 3rd.
And then the schedule's jam-packed, which I'm very excited for.
Just so y'all can come practice and be like Brook. That's all we got, folks.
That's right. Well, all right. We appreciate you, Brook. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoyed the conversation. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me ramble about it. I loved it.
Love it. Love it. Neil?
Y'all be good. See you at Bartlesville this weekend.